This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by Squarespace, Netflix, and GoDaddy.
So I got Drawn and Quarterly book about estranged parents and lovers.
Family.
Got The Damned here, which is demons and gangsters. And I got an old Marvel book. There's no theme here.
No theme.
No theme.
Nothing.
Was there supposed to be a theme?
We really need to talk about this stuff ahead of time.
Hey, welcome to another episode of iFanboy, the comic book discussion show. I'm Ron.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Josh. Today we are we're going back to our vaults, our shelves. And like you saw, we tried to come up with a theme for this. These books have nothing to do with one another, but that is part of the fun. So
Diversity of comic books.
We each pick a book that we like from somewhere deep in the recesses of our collections, and we talk to you about it, and then you say, I can't believe you told me another book I have to buy.
You don't have to.
Yeah, nobody's telling. Nobody's making you.
But you should.
Yeah.
Comics. We have lots of comics to talk about. So, Ron, you are up first.
All right, cool. Well, the book I chose is a book called Exit Wounds by Rutu Modan. I might be mispronouncing that, although I'm speaking.
You look at me like I know.
Well, no, I'm just saying. And it's actually
not an Israeli linguist.
It's more of a this is an original graphic novel. This is published by Drawn and Quarterly, and it is 1995, and it's this beautiful, wonderful hardcover with. Aside, before we get into the story, the design is just immaculate, stunning.
I sort of saw that sitting on the table before we started, and I just was like, God, that's good looking. And like the jacket, that is sort of it's in the whole thing. The jacket that character wears is just really striking against the background, which you can see is kind of muted. And it's. I
mean, even down to the print is raised ink. And so, like, it's a little textury, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
I got that wedge just in there, flattened out against all my other books.
But so this is a great. It came out last year, 2007, and this a lot of critics and really kind of there's two kind of camps in the world of comic books. There's the superhero stuff, and then there's the kind of indie, more. I don't want to disparage either grouping, but the more critical, kind of original graphic novel crowd.
Time Magazine, top graphic novels.
Really loved this book a lot, and it was so good. Actually, I got it for you for Christmas. Entertainment Weekly gave it an A, that sort of thing. It's got a lot of mainstream press. What it is it's an original graphic novel written and drawn by Rutu Modan, who grew up in Israel, and the story takes place in Israel. And it takes place in the present day, and basically the story is a guy is a taxi cab driver. He lives with his elderly aunt and uncle, and he generally has a pretty crappy life. That's the feeling that you gotta get.
Sort of a dude who's a workaday life. It's nothing special, and he's holding a lot of resentment for his father, who wasn't there and abandoned him.
Big falling out. His father kicked him out. That sort of thing. And one day he gets contacted by a mysterious woman who's a soldier, and he meets her, and she says, "There was a suicide bombing a couple of weeks ago." And the guy's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think your father died in it." And he's like, "Well, how do you know?" He's like, "Well, he was wearing something that was indicative that it was him." He's like, "Well, how do you know?" And then thus starts this whole mystery. It turns out this woman who contacted the guy had an affair with his father, and he was wearing a scarf that she had made for him, and so she was concerned. She wanted to find out, and so basically this not resentful but also unwilling son starts unraveling the mystery of his father's life post their estrangement, and then basically finding out if it was indeed him who died.
It's sort of a mystery, but it's much more an emotional.
Exactly, it's an emotional journey, and of course, while they're investigating it, the son falls for the girl, the soldier, and so he hooks up with her, and
that's awkward.
And then it gets awkward. Their relationship gets all tied into it, and then. And there's actually a moment too when they're interacting, and she makes a comment that is just not good. If you're ever hooking up with, I'm not gonna finish that sentence. Wow. So, but what's really great about it is these original graphic novels. When the writer and artist is doing, when it's one creator doing it, there's just so much care and because when you have two people working on it, a guy wrote it, and then a guy or a man or woman writes it, a man or woman draws it, and there's got to be a teamwork there, and that's really kind of fascinating when it works. But when it's one person by themselves, it's this total expression, and not only do the words but the imagery get across the story, get across their point of view. And Rutu Modan's style is very simple, Faces are just a line, 2 dots for eyes, 2 dots for nose and mouth. Like,
but in an art school sense, like I look at it and I see real bodies. Like I see somebody who did what I would guess to be a lot of figure drawing. Like for whatever reasons, they look like real people, and like I'm trying to think of.
But it's amazing is that because they're incredibly drawn simply. I mean, like the body shapes are just quick lines around them. But you're right, they do have a presence of reality.
It's deceptively simple. There's lots of emotion in the faces.
Yeah, and the emotion that in the faces and the positioning of the characters also ties into the story. And it's kind of, the story's kind of cheesy. I mean, it ends really cheesily. With the main character, like both physically and metaphorically taking a leap, which is kind of when I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, okay. But it also worked. It also it was like, oh, it was nice, and
It's really, for me, and I say this all the time, it is one of those examples of a comic book people don't think of as a comic book.
Yeah.
This is a guy, you're not going to hear that Rutu Modan is the new artist on Fantastic Four. That's not going to happen. So this is another area that not enough people explore, and you can read from this, and you can learn from it. If you were thinking about making comics, or writing or anything, it's important to read these kind of comics too, in addition to the other ones, because the emotional storytelling and the real nature. So say that you take that kind of stuff and you put it into a superhero story, then all of a sudden you have an amazing superhero story. So for no other reason than that, but on its own merit, it's
a great work of fiction. I mean, it's you get tied into the characters. You definitely feel for the guy and dealing with his family issues. You feel for the girl as you understand where she's coming from. There's their romance and
she's like kind of from a weird family, and she's like the ugly duckling sister sort of.
And also just the setting itself and taking place in Israel and just kind of the political kind of ramifications. And
does it feel authentic?
Yeah, it feels very authentic.
It's interesting because the book is in English and everything, but it does feel slightly off. And when you
can tell she's from Israel.
Well, you start reading it and you're like, this is not the world that I live in.
Right.
Yep.
And it's there's nothing specific about it, but like imagine just the presence of a world where you actually literally have to come to grips with the idea that a suicide bomber could show up at any point, and they just sort of have to accept it and they deal with it, and that's sort of in the background of everything. There's like this slight tension. There's a slight nervousness.
It's a true setting. I mean, like the thing is, quite often you say a story takes place in this city and this time period, and this is what's going on. But you're right. You feel the weight of what's going on around in terms of the suicide bombing and all the terrorism and things like that, and just kind of this constant threat. But yet people still got to live their lives and still have relationships and still have
they go on a road trip, and when you hear a road trip in your mind, like I think of people driving from Nevada to California, and you have an idea of what that's like and what it looks like, and this doesn't look like that. It doesn't feel like that, which is really interesting to me. That was one of the things I really liked about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the more Drawn Quarterly is an interesting publisher, in that they definitely, I don't want to say indie comics because that kind of different connotation. It's hard to describe the kind of comics that they do, but they're graphic novels. Yeah, exactly.
Graphic novels that aren't superhero books or whatever. But other than that, it's all sorts of different books. So.
Yeah, the art style actually, I mean, as I'm looking at it, actually almost reminds me of some of the like French, Belgian kind of Tintin kind of art and stuff like that, which is can be immensely expressive. And that's a whole world of
like GarageBand.
Yeah, well, that was a little more like Jippy.
But the faces, though, the simple lines with faces.
Yeah, exactly. So it definitely, like Josh said, it definitely has a not from here kind of feel to it. And it's worth checking out. I mean,
you read so much.
It's refreshing.
From here.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, the story is really top notch, and it's kind of a personal kind of relationship kind of story that's the kind of thing that I really like. These are the kind of books that jump out at me, and like when they're good and they're done well, they're special and one's worth reading. So Rutu Modan book is Exit Wounds, published by Drawn Quarterly. So I strongly recommend it. You got to read this. I think I'm surprised I haven't shoved it down your throat yet. So
it's coming.
Yep, it's coming.
So is the sponsor break though.
iFanboy would like to thank Squarespace.com for sponsoring this episode. If you ever wanted to build a complex high-end website but you don't know a thing about coding, Squarespace has the tools for you. You can build websites with high-end functionality and all sorts of complex stuff on them using their tools. Whether you have a large, powerful business or you just want to build a real nice blog, Squarespace has got what you need. They give everyone the opportunity to build pages that are just as powerful and flexible as those of the big dog. Keep an eye out for some pages that Squarespace is going to be building for us. GoDaddy.com. Thanks for sponsoring this episode. Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications, sir, to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Looking to drive viewers to your video content? Then get a .tv domain name and stand out from the crowd. TV domains are perfect for podcasters, video bloggers, or anyone with something to say, and they're available now at GoDaddy.com.
All right, so Josh, what do you got for us?
Oh, I had to pick a book.
Yeah, this is a prerequisite.
Homework.
Oh, I kid. I have The Damned from Oni Press by Cullen, Bunn, and Brian Hurtt. This is a book that I had first not been interested in because
I remember, yeah.
I heard The Damned and I was like, I don't want to read a vampire book. This has nothing to do with vampires, but like that's what originally popped into my head.
I thought of the band, but
But then I started hearing things about it and I wanted to check it out. And then when I was in San Diego this year, I
Is it a vampire book?
no, it's not at all.
Okay.
But I hear The Damned.
So there was no.
No, but that's how important the title can be.
True.
And I picked it up and I actually interviewed the guys who did it in the video show, but I had only read half of it at that point. There's true confessions of the iFanboy video show. What this book is it's a gangster story, sort of from the 30s, 40s, but not really in our world, because you find out that sort of the crime families are all headed by demons. All of the
demons. All the mobsters are demons.
They run by demons. I thought they had demon heads.
They do.
They do.
Oh, they do. Oh, okay. They're headed by demons.
And to be clear,
It's a play on words.
Yeah.
for me, this was really fun actually because I was reading it and I didn't know that. And the way that they present it is
It's a slow reveal.
Yeah, it's like 8 pages, but and they go to see Big Al and they pull back and Big Al's sitting at the desk, and he's clearly a demon. Now
He's got horns and a suit.
I have no way to sell this book to you. Not that I'm trying to sell it to you. I guess I am. I have no way to tell you about this book without giving you that bit of information, because otherwise, so I spoiled it. But deal.
Sorry.
Already happened in the video show. We talked about the book before.
It's true when I hadn't finished it. By the end, it's all dancing and ponies. I don't know what happened.
So presumably you finished it now.
I have, and I've even read the follow-up.
Oh, wow.
Talk about the first one. This is a $15 trade that's absolutely worth it. It's a fun little... I love the Oni size.
Yes.
You can hold it like this and everything.
Who are the creators?
Cullen, Bunn and Brian Hurtt. Brian Hurtt is an artist whose work you may recognize. He did Queen and Country. He did a little Queen and Country Declassified. He did a book called Hard Times, which was written by Steve Gerber about prison.
Yeah, I remember that.
Great book.
Yeah, I remember that.
Didn't get to finish it, actually.
The late great Steve Gerber.
And he did Gotham Central. He must have inked.
Yeah, but
he's ink on that.
Really, he's sort of an artist who exists in between the superhero style and the indie style.
It's not truly lifelike, but it's not cartoony, but it's not superhero-y. It's very much in the middle of all that.
Yeah, and I love this style of art. I'm a big fan of it, and there should be more. Hopefully, he can get more work, because I really like the way that he draws.
Yep.
And it's a moody book, and it's very genre-based. Like, everybody talks like...
Demon noir.
Yeah, demon noir.
Nice.
Gangs and dolls and guys and Tommy guns and this guy over here, and you sort of take it for granted that the demons are there.
Yeah.
And I actually don't quite know if the general population knows about the demons.
It's very early in the story.
But this is sort of a setup for a story that's going to keep going for a long time.
What's to tell Ron and everyone what it's about, this particular one?
The reason it's The Damned is because Eddie, who is the main character from this, has been cursed. And when you first meet him, he is a corpse. And it turns out that whenever you touch Eddie, you die. If he's dead. If he's dead, and the first person to touch his flesh then gets killed in his stead, and then Eddie comes back to life. So
It's like pushing daisies.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like but reverse pushing daisies.
Yeah, but over and over, like, he's got these scars on his face because he keeps getting more and more beat up because he keeps dying.
Right.
He's not invulnerable, but if you cut his nose off, it wouldn't grow back.
Right.
He would live again.
And the thing about Eddie is he is the quintessential gangster tough guy. Like, literally walks into a room full of giant demons, just doesn't give a shit.
Nice.
Like, or at least is playing the role to,
He might be fronting.
Yeah,
as the
he's
kids
very
say.
much, and there's something really fun about characters like that, and it's one of those things about, like, Criminal with Ed Brubaker. He's got characters like that who just can't be fazed.
Well,
feel like they're in control.
In every medium or media, people respond to that character. The character doesn't give a shit because you want to be that person who doesn't give a shit.
You want to be that guy who's so cool.
That aloofness.
The guy who will steal the demon's, doll.
Yeah.
In this one.
And there's sort of an underlying story of why he's been cursed, and there's a family thing where his mother and father were involved in all this stuff beforehand. And there's an impending gang war, which is also a war between the demons. And the really cool thing is they're not just like at first you just wonder, well, are these just demons? Like who just happen to be, but they've got all the demon stuff that goes on. So like there's curses and like all the demon rules. Like if you read Hellblazer, if you know the demon's name, you control them. Like that the demon's name that's always.
So this is all about a list of names.
Yeah.
The whole mystery is that a list of names of demons got out, and Eddie's been tasked to find the list of names.
But it's to stop an impending gang war between the demons.
Right.
And then there's a third group of demons, the Verloshin, and they have some other plan.
They're like the Irish mob.
Yeah.
They're kind of like they're not the warring Italian gangs. They're the wild card gang.
Mm-hmm. And it.
This is right up your alley.
It was really fun. I mean, it's you got the gangster stuff, but you also have the demon stuff. So if you're into like the fantasy side, you have that. You also have this crime, gangster stuff, and it was a very neat little mix.
What's really nice is that this is a setup. It's a volume 1. I think it's 6 issues, and it sets up a lot, and it finishes it. You can read this as one story, you'll be fine. But there's a lot more story to tell, and they're still doing it. There was a 3-issue miniseries that just finished up called Prodigal Sons. Which gets into Eddie and his brother's relationship, which is and sort of the past there, which is actually it's like a slightly different type of story. It's a lot of fun, and then there's going to be another 3-issue series, and then theoretically those will go into the volume 2 trade eventually. Cool. It's been optioned for a movie.
Awesome.
Big surprise.
This seems like definitely one to check out.
It was a lot of. I was really. I wasn't surprised, but I was pleased when I read it. I was like, oh, this is really something. There's nothing quite like it because it mixes sort of those different elements. Like noir comics are everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's the demon stuff that you can read, like the Vertigo stuff.
Right.
But this puts them together, and it unflinchingly, unironically goes with that.
Well, there's no winking at the camera. It's just straight on. We're in this world, and it's serious.
And it's also like sort of old style dialogue and like tough guy,
40s, 30s gangster movie like Cagney.
It's fun, and I've really got to get up to Brian Hurtt. The gray tones and the art, I really dig just the way that it all works together really well, and he's a great artist, and I think more people should go with him.
Great.
On
a date.
On books.
On books.
Put him on more books.
All right, cool.
Like to see him get more work.
So the Damned Oni Press. How much?
$15.
$15, not bad. That's thick. That's pretty good.
Awesome. Stuff. And you can read it on the train and not feel embarrassed.
Cool, excellent.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, so we got one more, but first, a brief word from our sponsors.
Thanks to Netflix for sponsoring this episode of iFanboy. With Netflix, you can rent over 90,000 titles online, including tons of Blu-ray titles, with free shipping both ways to your home. They now have over 40 shipping centers, so much all deliveries happen in just one business day. Netflix plans start from $4.99 and up, and as a new member, you can get a no-risk 2-week free trial membership. Check it out at www.netflix.com/iFanboy.
Hey, Connor.
Hi.
Did you pick a comic book?
Well, whenever we talk about doing these vault shows, I always do the little stand in front of my shelf and I look, what are we going to talk about?
And you pick some shit no one else can get.
And so my eyes lingered down to the shelf that I have the oversized books on.
Yep.
And I found Emperor Doom from Marvel Comics.
Now, I consider myself a bit of a Marvel aficionado.
Yes.
I'm a big Marvel zombie. I'm a big fan. I've never heard of this. I
believe that's because it's a coloring book.
It looks the same size.
This is this is 1987, and Marvel put out a few OGNs. This is an OGN.
But this isn't an epic.
No, it's not.
Oh, wow.
This is a Marvel graphic novel.
Yeah.
Right across the top. And this was just it's not a compilation. This was an original.
The graphic novel was king.
And it was $6 back then.
$6.
That was a shit ton of money.
Yes, it was expensive.
So it's an Avengers book by who?
By David Michelinie is the writer, and Bob Hall is the artist. And it's you know what? It's similar in art style. It's like an archaeological find. We found King Tut.
Are you excited?
I'm peaked.
I was flipping through it, and I started getting...
Well, you're an Avengers. I mean, this is your time period. This is your Avengers.
You know how much this is Josh's time period? There's a little thing in the beginning that says this story takes place before West Coast Avengers #1.
It's in continuity.
Yeah, no,
it's a graphic novel in continuity. Yep. That's genius.
So now Emperor Doom should be subtitled Emperor Doom. Be careful what you wish for. What this story is Dr. Doom, he gets control of the Purple Man, who is a guy whose power is he can make you do whatever he tells you to do. Yeah. Your will is suppressed.
We recently, if you read Alias. By Brian Michael Bendis, featured Purple Man
9 years ago.
Yeah. Well, in the last decade, it featured Purple Man prominently and creepily.
So the Doctor Doom gets Purple Man and he imprisons him and he puts him in this big gem, and the gem sends out his purple madness to the whole world, and then Doctor Doom takes over the world. He becomes Emperor Doom. All the world leaders go to the UN and they proclaim him Emperor. Reagan is there, and Margaret Thatcher, and Castro and Gorbachev. They're all there.
As we know, in the real world.
Yes.
Marvel is in the real world.
So Doctor Doom's now he's Emperor Doom, and he pulls the Soviets out of Afghanistan. He makes racial equality in South Africa.
Oh.
Suddenly there's all this technology and resources in Africa. They're growing food. Like, it's now a utopia. Doom has brought the world to
What's wrong with Doom?
You were right.
Totally, see?
They've dismantled.
Not evil.
All the nuclear missiles are dismantled, and everyone is living in prosperity, except for Wonder Man. What happens is in the beginning they have to take out all the people that aren't affected by Purple Man, like the Vision is because he's a robot. He doesn't have, so they take the Vision out. But Wonder Man was in a sensory deprivation tank that Tony Stark could put him in for an experiment for a month.
For the ionic energy.
So while this is happening, Doom takes over. He wakes up from the experiment. He comes out to find the world has been taken over, and he's unaffected by it. So then he proceeds to try to free the world. He does that by, waking up the Captain America. He wakes up Tony Stark. He wakes up Hawkeye.
But why?
Well, then that's interesting is because then they defeat Doom, but then there's the moral quandary where Hawkeye's like, are we really doing good here?
But why are they defeating Doom?
Because people are being
named Doom.
Because he's a dictator.
Because he's doing it against people's
and
will.
there's no free will. And
it's a bad rap.
And Hawkeye's like, well, is this so bad because it's peaceful? And then Captain America says, well, it may be peaceful, but people
we didn't vote for
People
it.
need to choose peace.
Yeah.
And
we never choose peace.
And
that's the tragic.
There's a bittersweet ending because there's a big full page where you see the ramifications of when the powers are taken away. All the blacks are suddenly put down in South Africa. The soldiers roll back in Afghanistan. Violence takes back into the streets again. So it's kind of like at the end you're wondering, maybe Emperor Doom isn't such a bad thing.
I think I'm with Doom. Can I click a button?
Does the story continue on the back cover?
The story, this is a preview.
Or is that about Twinkie?
Here's a scene from Emperor Doom.
Okay.
And if you want to actually open the book and just want to look at the back, and you want to see if it's for you, the art from Bob Hall is good in that classic '87 style. It's
awesome.
It's similar to that Son of the Demon, the Batman book. Same size, but similar sort of style.
I'm flipping through it though, and I see these pages where I don't see panels like that anymore. Like the
Machine Man.
Machine Man's arm going all the way across, like long, thin, horizontal panels.
Yeah, it's definitely 80s Marvel style, but it's good. Yeah.
Oh,
there's a great panel with the West Coast Avengers sitting around the breakfast table, and Iron Man's in his armor, but the helmet's off, and
I like the Hulk and Luke Cage sitting outside of the White House.
They're guarding it for Doom. That's where he lives.
Nice.
They're bodyguards, and Wonder Man has to use his acting training to go undercover, and
because he's an actor.
Yeah.
Does he keep the glasses on when he's undercover?
Because his eyes would glow.
It's a giveaway.
And he's got this stupid belt rockets, and it's just like.
What do Luke Cage and the Hulk chat about when they're stuck on guard duty?
See Dynasty last night?
Hulk not like it. Hulk like Falcon Crest.
Hulk smash another TV. Need to go to Sears. Apparently he's a lame Indian.
At the end,
Sears.
And Purple Man dies in this at the very end.
So it's not in continuity.
Well, people die and they come back.
Right, it's comics.
Yeah, but this is like the classic old Avengers. Two-fisted action.
It's before Avengers West Coast started, but they're already on the West Coast.
Well, they have to build. The compound is already there. They hadn't actually formed.
It was the breakfast tables.
Wasn't it Avengers East and West at that point, and then they officially became West Coast Avengers?
I don't remember.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
I think
really.
it was just Avengers, though.
How much do you want to read this?
I kind of do. You know what I like?
Great Submariner, angry.
Is Submariner working with Doom?
Well, he's one of the people whose will is so strong he has to be taken down first. So he puts a strand of Purple Man's hair in another gym, puts it on. He puts a necklace around
some Purple Man's hair. Like
Purple Man is also a pharmacological.
Yeah. So Mariner's like Dr. Doom's right-hand man. But the best part of this, I forgot to say, the best part.
I still want to look at it.
The best part is Doom, be careful what you wish for, is that he doesn't like ruling the world.
Is it like middle management skull?
Yes, exactly. He finds there's too much annoyance. There's no challenge. All he gets is meetings all day with paperwork about
bureaucracy,
border disputes, and farmlands and food distribution.
But if everybody's under the utopian charm,
shouldn't there be no border disputes?
No, he doesn't say don't hate each other. People still, but there's
you
no.
should do that instead.
But the funny thing at the very end, they free the Purple Man, they free Submariner, and all the Avengers are in this room, and all he has to do is press one button to flood it with nerve gas and kill all the Avengers. But right as that's about to happen, he's about to press the button, his bureaucrats come in, they have all these papers he needs to sign and meetings he needs to attend, and he goes... because it's more fun to fight the Avengers than it is to deal with all the crappy paperwork. It was awesome.
That's really smart. That's really cool.
I love the character designs of that time. Like I'm looking at the Iron Man, and
I like this Iron Man. This is Silver Red Iron Man.
Yeah, this is actually just before I started reading comics, which is sort of that period of time. Because I remember like looking at back issues when I was younger and finding that I'm like, oh, I want that Iron Man, you know, and just those pages are like in between old style comics and modern style comics. It's before the Image stuff, but it doesn't look so old that it's just great face act. Like these were good comics, and it's funny because this was the original graphic novel, so they put I think they put a little extra care into it. Like the coloring is really nice, and the page is really nice, and
it looks like Bob Hall did. Keith Williams assisted with the inks. So,
and you know, if you are sort of newer to comics and you don't know David Michelinie, I mean, it's a name that isn't really a household name today in comics.
But he was 20 years ago. He was.
Yeah.
I know, but like he did so much.
He did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of stuff on Iron Man,
Amazing Spider-Man, Avengers. He was really.
He was good. He was definitely a workhorse of that time period. So.
And if you were in that side of the universe, that's all you. I mean, you read all of his books.
Yeah. So unfortunately, unless you come across this on eBay
or a comic store, maybe.
Or a comic store, you're gonna have to take our word for it.
It is available from used sellers on Amazon.
Oh, there you go. Or if you send a nice email, Connor will lend you his copy.
I will not.
He's not even gonna lend Josh it. You can meet him at a con. You can sit there and read it while he watches you.
I'll recount it for you.
Yeah. It's really difficult because I borrowed books and he stands there and he's just I'm like. And I like one time I creased it. He was like, I was like, oh.
Put on those white gloves I gave you.
So this is a great find. Definitely a good find.
Oh, totally.
And it's not a coloring book.
Yeah.
No, it's
not a coloring book.
It is. I spent 20 years coloring it painstakingly.
Wow,
you did a really good job. And then he glossed it.
It's all crayon too.
I love the Breakfast Table Avengers. That's great.
I like how Tigra's bikini is still very plunging.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Even then.
There's a great scene in here where Tony's running to put on his armor. He's
I saw that.
Holding the breastplate in one hand.
And he says, I got to slip into my armor. That's what he said. It's like, there's no slipping in that armor.
It's not very light.
So, excellent.
Good. Those are classic. And the mustache.
Star Fox.
It's not even in it.
He's barely
on the cover.
Not a great
And the cover, like Scarlet Witch is like hiding behind Vision.
Why the long face?
The Wasp is showing us her ass.
Yeah. So, all right then.
Oh, yes she is. There it is. Oh, we're doing a show. Anyway, that's about all for these ones. If you want more, you could write to us at contact@ifanboy. What?
More what?
More what?
More video shows?
If you want to tell us what books you think we should be reading, or what you thought of these
books. You write in at contact@ifanboy.com and you say, I would like more. Of what? Don't be specific, and then it's like a grab bag.
And if you really want more, you can call us at 1-888-FANBOYS. That's 1-888-326-2697. Leave a voicemail. Keep it short. Keep it about 30 seconds. And we'd love to hear what more else you'd like.
Say your name.
Yeah. Say your name.
If you want to talk about these books or some other books, you can go to ifanboy.com. There'll be discussion on these show here, these books here.
These books here.
You can also check out the discussion at version3.com/ifanboy.
Yeah. What a nice cross-section of comic books.
Boy, they really are.
Yeah.
It covers the gamut.
Yes, it does.
In 3 books that just... That's not a word.
Nope.
Good thing nobody's transcribing this.
Closed captioning person's like, ugh.
F.
It's like a Spider-Man sound effect.
THPT at the end.
Thwift.
M.
THWPT.
Thwift.
So I thought I was going to wear the shirt.